What's up, video creators? Welcome back to the Video Creator Podcast. My name is Augie Johnston, and I'm here with my co-host, Grant Ball. And in today's episode, we're going to talk all about how to start a YouTube channel. This is going to be a complete A to Z guide that anybody can take and literally just take some advice from people who have done it before so that you have all the best practices in place and you're not missing a single step. So if that sounds good to you, then stick around for the whole episode today and let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, starting a YouTube channel. If you're actually going to go ahead and take the plunge and start a channel, then there's certain steps that you kind of need to take. You want to make sure that your channel's optimized correctly. You want to make sure that you know what type of videos you're going to be creating before you ever hit that record button so that you kind of just have the best chance to succeed. And I will start this off by saying, if you have some kind of expectations about what your channel is going to do, just know that every channel is different. You might start off and blow up your first few videos and you might get some luck there and do well, or it might be a little bit of a slower process. We've talked a little bit about this in the past before, but the first kind of tip that I have to starting a channel is choosing your niche, right? What type of content do you want to create? Because you don't want to go and create a channel that is just going to be like super broad where every single video is totally different. You want to really what's called niche down and get really specific on what kind of person you're going to be serving and creating content for and what type of topics. So Grant, what's some advice on choosing your niche?
So the first thing I always recommend is, what do you actually care about? What do you find yourself thinking about and drawn to without any effort from you? So this could be a hobby of yours. It could be just a general interest you have. Maybe you love history. Maybe you love knitting. Maybe you love cooking. And these are just things that you find yourself always wanting to learn more about, wanting to get better at. And if you can find what that thing is, then usually that is your best option to create a YouTube channel.
Yeah. So what are you passionate about? And, this is the internet and it's the World Wide Web. So it's worldwide. So if you're thinking, what my passion is knitting, I don't know, animals, like knitting clothes for animals, right? Like you think like, there's no way that there'd be enough people out there interested in that. That's exactly where you want to start. You want to start niched, super focused down, right? Don't just create a knitting channel. Make one that's knitting clothes for animals. And it's the whole world. There's going to be enough people out there to get you started, to create some super fans that are going to watch every single one of your videos. And then I think from there, you can kind of broaden, as you want to create more and more different types of videos. Okay, you've created clothes for every single type of animal out there. Now it's time to kind of broaden your horizon a little bit and go for a little bit more broad audience. And who knows, maybe you do grow it to a couple 100,000 subscribers over, 2 or 3 years. And at that point you have maybe just a sewing channel, right? And now you're going super broad and you are now have a channel big enough to compete with all the other sewing channels out there. And you can go broad and create content about other kinds of sewing things. And you can compete with the big dogs because you yourself are an authority. Okay. Yeah. The only other thing I would say is when choosing your topic, what's the purpose of your channel? Is it just for fun? Is it just for fun to grow an audience, or is there a business behind it? Because I know, no matter who you are, kind of the ultimate goal is to be able to make a full-time income off of your channel. What kind of business can you create? And kind of the easy one that I always think of is just the information product business. With my basketball training channel, it's called Baller Bootcamp. I had basketball training videos on there, and that was my niche. But I also created products. These were digital training programs. So basically access to a members area where you had access to downloadable PDFs, tons of more videos, basically premium content. And that's normally like a good way to monetize a channel. I was making way more money off my courses and my digital products than I was just through my YouTube ads. So knitting, right? Is your niche knitting? Well, how can you create products off that? And I think information products would be a good way to do that. Any other thoughts on choosing your niche, Grant?
Yeah, another option is basically to make yourself your niche. So, what that means is you are the centerpiece for this channel. An example of this is a vlog channel, and vlogs are. I think they can be corny very easily, trying to sugarcoat your life and to make your life seem more interesting or better than it is. But I think when you're upfront about what your life is, then you really can monetize yourself or build a channel off yourself, more specifically. So, just an example, I was talking to a YouTuber and I was interviewing her, and her channel is just about organizing her life and like remodeling bedrooms and kind of repainting her kids' bedrooms. Her channel is The Secret Slob, and the idea is she was once very disorganized and not very clean, and she made a whole channel about how to organize your life and how she has been able to kind of overcome this like feeling of being disorganized and not knowing where her life is going or how to keep all the moving parts of her life together. And that's her niche, is just kind of being upfront about what her life is. And sometimes it's just, here's how I organized this super messy room, here's how I repainted my kids room, and here, it's, she kind of has a general framework of what her videos usually are. They are all under the category of organization generally. But for the most part, she's just sharing her life. And anybody can do that so long as they feel they have something to share. Again, like, you don't have to feel like you're somebody who is super comfortable in front of a camera. This is a skill that you can acquire. Um, and if there's just kind of one thing that you're interested in, so in the case of The Secret Slob, she again just started with kind of an organization channel, strategies to organize all the things in your house, et cetera, et cetera. And then from there, it kind of evolved into these other, kind of more artistic things. And so now her channel covers more of a wide breadth, but it still has its general theme, and it's all still centered around her and her life. And anybody who has anything they would like to share, a problem that they are really trying to solve, and it's kind of a complex, ongoing thing that you're dealing with, you could make a channel out of that. You really can.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, we're talking about choosing your niche and all that stuff, but there's so many big channels out there, and really the way that YouTube started was not really like choosing a niche, right? It's like your personal brand, like Casey Neistat, right? Like, he's a vlogger. But yeah, I mean, there's Nelk Boys, like there's prank channels. There's so much different kinds of content out there, you guys. It's like whatever you want to create, you can create. You don't have to create info products like I mentioned and all that kind of stuff. I just think that is kind of like the fastest path to a full-time income is to choose a niche and deliver value, but you could deliver entertainment, right? And I think kind of like what you were talking about, Grant, was kind of like a combination of entertainment plus value with the organizational tips and stuff, and also just like a day in the life type stuff. So, yeah, I mean, if you wanted to create a prank channel, then I guess that is your niche in a way. But a personal channel is good too, where you just say, hey, I just broke up with my girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. And like, people come back for that kind of stuff and they enjoy that. It's entertaining. And eventually, if you grow your channel, you could then start to move into maybe these other worlds where maybe you become a YouTube consultant or something like that, where you're able to monetize. So, all right, I think we talked enough about choosing the niche. Let's talk a little bit more, maybe more technical stuff here now, and talk about setting up your channel. So, you create a new Google account. That's what you do, because YouTube and Google are tied together, and then you get your channel right there. It's a blank slate. What do you recommend the next step being, Grant?
So once you create your channel, you got your blank slate. there are a few things that you will need. One is a profile picture. So this is a logo. It could be a picture of your face. I My general advice when you're first getting started with this is don't overcomplicate it. Now, if you have time or money or artistic talent, you can design your own logo, design your own banner. I've seen channels that are reasonably successful. Their banner is just like a blank color. It's just the color red or the color blue, and that's totally fine to start. You don't have to overcomplicate this. I would say your channel art is not super important. Your profile picture, I think, is important, but you can keep it simple. Just have a picture of your face, or just like some letters, or like a simple logo. You can pay somebody to make it. If you're not comfortable with that, you can go on Upwork and find an artist to make it for you. And just kind of don't overthink this part. Like, don't wait around for a month trying to get your art perfect before you start posting videos. Like, you can always update the art later. I feel like it's easy to get trapped in this stage because, you can spend forever making a YouTube banner. YouTube banners can be a pain to make as well. The cropping is very odd on them. You kind of have to make it look good on multiple devices, everything from like a little smartphone to a giant TV. So again, don't get super caught up in this stage. Just make it look fine. It just should look fine. And then once you get past that, then put in the channel tags, kind of optimize your channel. You can go into the settings and just tag your channel with anything that you think is going to be relevant to you.
Yeah, and I think another good move is just like channel name. Like, how you going to choose your channel name? And I think 9 times out of 10, you should just use your name. Like I with my channel, like I have a video editing service called VidChops, and I created a YouTube channel for it. It was called VidChops, but then now I created a bunch of videos, and I'm stopped creating videos, and I'm going to go back and create more very soon. And I've decided to change it just to my name and start to build a little bit of a personal brand. I think it's just, people don't want to come to a channel that's for a company. They don't want to come to a corporate channel. They want to come to like connect with a person. And so hoping that's going to help me, build a little bit of a personal brand, and also just allow me to be more personal with my audience. And yeah, I agree. Like, don't kill yourself with the channel art. Like, if you have some Photoshop skills, like go to Envato or go to freepick.com, get like a template there, do a quick search for YouTube channel art template, because like Grant said, you're going to create one image that's going to work on a phone, on a TV, on a computer monitor. And there's just like some spacing things that you need to be aware of so that your logo doesn't get cut off on a phone or whatever. And then just go from there. And like in Envato, like what I do is I'll download like a font template right there, where all you got to do is just open it in Photoshop, double click it, redo the text. And then it has like this incredible font that would take you like, forever to come up custom yourself. And then, yeah, keep it simple. A lot of people include like a little arrow with like, hey, click subscribe, or stuff like that. Just little calls to action on the channel. For profile picture, I normally like to recommend that you put a face on there. It's just way easier to kind of connect with, and it kind of catches your attention more. And bright colors, on your photo, on your profile pic. Some sort of bright color background, I think, works well. But to be honest, none of these things are super important. Like, these are just do what you want.
Yeah, and as far as choosing like a channel name, so you mentioned just having your name, which I think is totally valid. I will say, be careful about putting your name out there, because if your dreams do come true, then you could, if you use your real name, people might be able to look you up and find you. And, like you got to be careful. It could be valuable to choose a fake name, or even just like keep your regular first name and then just some last name that's, I don't know, kind of similar to your original one, or just some other last name. I just wanted to throw that out there. Don't overthink it or anything. Just, a catchy, decent name that is close to your name or close enough. is totally fine and will totally work. So just kind of be aware of the pitfalls of fame.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you're putting yourself out there. You're creating a channel. So, if it's up to you if you want to keep that content online, but a lot of times, right, this content lives for years. And so like with my basketball training channel and stuff, I never cussed in a single video, right? There's some certain things that I did to make sure that I represented myself well there because, like my name was on the channel. It was called Baller Boot Camp, but I would use my name in the videos. So, okay. That's setting up your channel. Don't overthink that. Now, the next thing is you kind of need to decide on how you're going to present the info in your video or how you're going to shoot it. Are you going to use a green screen? Are you going to do a talking head video? Are you going to do more vlog where you're holding the camera? Are you going to, I don't know. There's a million different ways that you can create videos. So you need to decide on how you're going to present your info. Grant, tell us a little bit about how you guys presented your info with Treesicle.
Sure. So in the very beginning, it was just my voice. I didn't show my face. I didn't want to show my face. I felt uncomfortable with that. I wanted to be somewhat anonymous. Even my voice, like I wasn't really talking in my normal speaking voice. It was very theatrical and kind of silly and ridiculous. So I just, I kind of put on this voice and I didn't show my face. And we just used clips of video games and funny little Photoshops and animations that we would make and just that were relevant to what I was talking about. And that worked for several years. However, so the nice thing about that is one, you don't have to look camera ready. You can look horrible and just talk into a microphone. And that is weirdly more relaxing than having a camera pointing at you. The disadvantage is it makes editing more difficult usually. So if you just film yourself with a camera, then a lot of your video can just be you talking. And, maybe you'll have like a picture overlaid with you relevant to what you're talking about. But when you film yourself on camera, you can end up saving yourself a lot of time, especially if you have a decent camera presence. And even if you don't have a decent camera presence, remember, practice makes perfect. And you just show up, you will get better. You'll get more natural in front of a camera. It may be weird at first to be speaking to nobody, but you do get used to it. So be aware. If you film yourself, you will save yourself a lot of editing time, at least for like creating an engaging video. I've seen some channels, they kind of do kind of an audio only thing on YouTube, but you really need an engaging video aspect. So, you'll save yourself a lot of time hunting for clips and pictures and what have you, if you are willing to film yourself. But there are plenty of channels that, their editing isn't over the top. It probably doesn't take a billion years, and they never show their face. I think Jamari is one channel. He kind of like reacts to weird like internet memes and cringy videos and things like that. And he kind of ends up just showing clips of what he's reacting to. And he'll kind of put like a SpongeBob meme on the screen or whatever. And his editing is very simple. It's very straightforward and it works for him. So these are kind of just the things to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I know exactly what channel you're talking about. It's really good content, very entertaining.
Yeah.
And so there it is right there, you guys. Are you just going to do voiceovers and use B-roll? Are you going to do a talking head video kind of like you're seeing right now? Or I guess if you're listening, you're not seeing it. But, the great thing about talking head videos is you can use B-roll very easily, stock footage, or you can get your camera out and go shoot things and overlay it as B-roll. So kind of have like a hybrid. And it almost can seem like a voiceover sometimes if you use a lot of B-roll. For Baller Boot Camp, I had a camera woman. It was my wife. And we would go into the gym and she would hold the camera. I would just be looking at my outline, look up, and then she'd hit record and I'd deliver my lines. That, like, if you can afford that or pull that off, like for me, it was free, but maybe you might have to hire a videographer. But that is like the ultimate, because the hardest part in making the videos to me is like getting it all set up and worrying all about the audio and the lighting and doing all that and then hitting record and okay, now you got to like deliver your lines. And then when you mess up, you want to like stop it and like all that kind of stuff just makes it twice as hard to me. Like a lot of times when I shoot like Facebook ads or YouTube ads, for VidChops, I always really normally use a videographer, and it's so easy, man. I'm like, all right, meet me at this outside location at 7:30 p.m. I show up there. He's over there doing all the camera stuff for like the first 15 minutes, getting everything set up. I'm just looking at my lines, like not even worried about that. It's just like so stress free. And then I just got to deliver my lines, and he's the one that's worried about everything else. So, anyways, that's a great way if you can figure that out.
How do you find a videographer?
Yeah, so me, I just use currently a high school student who I helped kind of mentor. I mentored him and taught him how to use a camera and all that kind of stuff. And then now he's been getting all kinds of work doing stuff for like sports, different teams and stuff like that. And I hit him up, and he's a high school student, so it's super affordable. But that's a great tip right there. Like find somebody young and ambitious, because then it will be affordable for you. But I don't know any other ways of finding out. Maybe like Craigslist, or asking around on Facebook and stuff like that. But yeah, there really should be. I bet there is like a website where you can go to and find them. But that's a huge advantage if you have that. My wife, she's not a videographer, but we just use like a little camcorder where she just had to hit record. Eventually, when we did upgrade to the DSLR, I did have to kind of train her and show her on that. But yeah, how are you going to record your footage? What kind of style are you going to have? Are you going to be vlogging, walking around with your thing, your camera? Just kind of figure that out, because that's going to basically just decide on what your content looks like. And you can always change that. So, all right, let's keep going. So now you know your niche, you got your channel set up, you know how you're going to present your info. Maybe you're just sitting in a studio and talking to the camera. Now you need to script your first video. What kind of advice do you have on that, Grant?
So there's a couple different things. One is, what kind of script do you want to have? With Treesicle, I wrote very specific scripts. They were long, and I would read everything word for word. And of course, the fact that I started with no face cam, this was very easy. So I could just kind of read lines into the microphone, and there you have it. I had recorded everything and could just kind of chop up the audio and put it so that it totally matched the script. And that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it, and this is probably easier if you're doing face cam, is to just kind of have bullet points, and you outline your video, and then you just kind of go point by point. And remember, you can always cut things out. So, you read one bullet point, maybe you forget your next one. Just look at your outline, put it down, then say, start talking about that one. You can just sort of speak from the heart, and you don't have to read things line by line. Another thing you can do is to write a script, but think of it more as don't memorize your lines, because, if you're recording a 10-minute video, like memorizing 3 pages of lines, it's totally impractical. Like you can't, unless you're a savant or something, you're just not going to be able to do that. So what I tend to do is I will internalize lines. So I'll kind of look at a few and then just say them into the camera, and maybe I don't get the wording exactly right, but that's okay. Sometimes there's lines that I want to get exactly as they are, in which case I will memorize those ones, and I don't want to have any cuts or anything. So I'll just, I will internalize most lines, memorize a few of them. And the nice thing about this is, you say some lines, and then you kind of look at the other ones, and then you say some more. You look at the other ones, you say some more. And then in post-production, you just kind of cut it all up and smash together. And, you can either deal with the jump cuts, or what I usually do is I'll kind of cut to a relevant clip, or do some zooms, instead of having a jump cut, I'll kind of zoom closer to my face or zoom further away. And it kind of creates the illusion that there is no cut. So just remember that video editing is your friend. And just the important thing is that you get all of the lines out to the camera. And one thing I also like to tell people is, so some people might be confused. They're like, well, I wrote the script, so shouldn't I be saying it word for word? You can use a teleprompter, or you can try to memorize, but keep this in mind. Your vibe is much more important than the specific words you say. I'd say that's true 95% of the time. Occasionally, again, maybe you wrote like a paragraph that is just mwah, you love it, it's perfect. You got to say it word for word. Fine, memorize that, say that. Great, beautiful. But keep in mind that your vibe is everything. Like, your charisma is more important than getting the words absolutely perfect. And if you're too worried about getting the words absolutely perfect, you're going to come off as very stiff. You're going to come off as just seeming more robotic, because you're not speaking from the heart. You're speaking more from your brain. So just this is something to be aware of. Don't worry too much about memorization.
Yeah, and I think sometimes using a teleprompter, you do kind of get to look a little robotic,
You
and
look like you're reading. You
yeah,
come across like you're reading.
it takes some practice. I mean, you can use a teleprompter. I use a teleprompter for a lot of different kinds of videos, not YouTube videos, but for like a video for a website, right? Where I really need to say the words exact, and I need to get it all there because it's super important information that tells about whatever the website's selling. And I'll use a teleprompter. There's some really cool ones out there that this one's called something Parrot. I can't remember the name of it.
Yes, the Parrot teleprompter. I have it. Yes.
Yeah, it's awesome because it's really small. You could, like, if you were going to go to like do a shoot for somebody else, you could take it. It's not like this big clunky thing, and it just slips right on top of your lens. And there's an app that goes with it. So what I do is I just get my script right on a Google Doc on my computer. I have an iPhone and I use an MacBook. So then I just copy all the text off the Google Doc. You can copy and paste right into your phone. And then in my phone, I just open the app and I hit paste, and it pastes the whole entire script into there. And then I just slide my phone into the teleprompter, hit record on the camera, hit start on the teleprompter, and then there we go. I can just read it right off. And for the most part, it looks good. I would say, like, in a 3-minute video, there might be like one moment throughout the 3-minute video where I'm like, yeah, I can kind of tell that I'm reading right there, but whatever, like, it's not the whole entire thing. And like I said, there's different things that affect that, right? If I'm really close to the camera, it's a lot easier to tell that I'm reading than if I'm farther away. For whatever reason, your eyes aren't shifting as much. But I think for beginners, if I was like, had a client that was like, okay, they've never made a YouTube video before, like, we have this script, I would probably use it just so they could actually get through the first video and teleprompt it out. But me personally, when I create my own videos, I prefer to use an outline. I think the outline can, what a lot of times happens for me is I'll look at my outline, I'll look at the camera, I'll deliver my lines, and then I'll say some other cool stuff that I wasn't even planning on saying. It's like something funny or something kind of off the top, where,
right.
I wasn't even planning on saying that, but in the post-production, I'm like, I'm keeping that, and like you said, it's just so much more natural. Like, you're just talking to a person, and you can tell, like, as I'm talking right now, like, I'm talking off the top of the head. So I'm like, there's just natural pauses, natural kind of like, thinking that goes on, and just more conversational. So, scripting your video is just, don't overthink all this stuff. Don't overthink it. If you're going to go word for word, you're going to put a little bit more pressure on yourself, because you're going to look down, you're going to want to look up, and you're going to want to read it word for word. And it's going to be a little bit more stressful. You're going to find yourself making more mistakes. But, you just got to have to practice it both ways and see what works best for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go ahead and keep this moving. You got your script ready. You're ready to record your first video. Let's talk a little bit more about technical stuff for beginners. So how do you get good video? What are some tips to getting good video?
Well, the first thing is lighting.
Yeah.
So if you're just filming on your phone, you got an iPhone, you got an Android, a Google Pixel, whatever. If your lighting is good, then that is going to make an average camera much better. A lot of people, they feel like, oh, they need to have really fancy equipment, but what you really just need is lighting, and you can get some pretty cheap LEDs that work very well. You'll want an LED where you can adjust the brightness. There are some where you can't, and it looks like you're like staring into the sun the whole time, and it's very unpleasant. Don't do that to yourself. Please don't. And more advice is you want to light one side of your face more than the other. And the reason for this is if you light both sides of your face evenly, it actually looks kind of weird. You look like too symmetrical. You almost look like I don't know, it just doesn't look very natural. Think about it this way. When you're outside, you're always lit from one angle pretty much, which is the sun. And, if you're like outside at night and there's street lamps and stuff, there's usually one light that's closer to you than another. So one side of you is always going to be a little more shadowy than the other. So you want to always simulate that. And the best way to do this is to have two lights, and you have one that's a little closer and one that's further away. And also, if you're filming in front of a background, which, I mean, who isn't filming in front of a background, you usually want a light behind you as well. That is it's called a key light. It kind of shines on the back of your head. It's like above you and comes down and shines on the back of your head here, creates a bit of depth between you and the background. So, light one side of your face more than the other, have a key light, and maybe even if you want to get real fancy, another light behind you as well. But that I think is less necessary than the other three.
Yeah, I agree. And there's all kinds of different lights out there. I always recommend just getting two ring lights, because normally ring lights they're adjustable. You can dim them. You could get one on one side, one on the other, kind of do different distances, or make one brighter than the other to get that setup that you were just talking about. With if you put your lights right in front of you, both of them, then you're most likely going to get that little like two light look in your eyes, right? Where you see like the two rings or at least one ring. It's best to kind of put them to the sides, kind of at that angle to get some lighting. But you could also use natural light too, right? You could just use a window. I mean, that's normally the best option, because it's not going to be too harsh. Like, it's just natural, right? It's not going to have a yellow tint to it or anything like that. But yeah, I like me personally, I use like the two ring light setup normally. And if you're filming outside, you really want to avoid filming at like noon, like 11 a.m. to like 2 p.m. like is like the worst time, because that's when the sun is like right above you, and it's going to cast like these weird shadows under your eyes, under your nose. Like it just won't look great. And so what you're really looking for is the golden hour. Like you want to film in the golden hour, and that's either right before the sun comes up in the morning or right after it goes down in the evening. So like it's summertime right now as we're recording this. So the golden hour here is 7 p.m. And I'm always like aware of it. I'm always like in the winter, I'm like, what's the sun doing? Is it, oh, look, the golden hour is at 5:30, but for me, it's 7. And I love that lighting. That lighting is incredible. And like I said, when I go shoot Facebook ads or video ads and stuff, we shoot them outside normally. And we always go during that time. And it just creates a really, really good look where the light's kind of soft. There's no shadows. But if you're not able to shoot during the golden hour, one tip I have for outside shooting is to find shade. If you can get into the shade, adjust your camera settings, or if you're using an iPhone, it'll do it automatically. Then you can normally get you get good shots still. But you don't want to go from like the shade to the light to the shade to the light in the same shot. It'll kind of mess up. And the other tip that I have besides good lighting to capture good video is depth of field. Okay, a lot of people think that are new to creating videos that you need to go in front of a white wall and stand right in front of the white wall and hit record. And actually, no, you want to stand away from the white wall, create some depth behind you. For whatever reason, it just creates a better look. I think it's because maybe possibly the shadows that get cast onto the wall. But for whatever reason, creating depth is good. And, like if you're using a DSLR camera, or a mirrorless camera and a good lens, you can kind of create that blurry bokeh background, and you got to have depth of field for that. And so, yeah, I think lighting, depth of field. Any other tips, Grant, on capturing good video?
I mean, just try to, like, if you're thinking about what should I spend my money on electronics wise, maybe just buy a new phone. If your phone is pretty old, like you're on your phone all the time anyway. Like if you have a bit of disposable income, I'd recommend buying a new phone if you can afford it. And that's kind of the main thing. And be aware of backgrounds as well. Like you have a cool cactus light back there, and there's some things going on back there. I'm still kind of working on my background, honestly, but maybe I should take my own advice. But with the tree skull videos, we had a legit set, and it looked good. I enjoyed it for sure. And yeah, just kind of be aware that background is important. And this was actually something that took me a little while, but be aware of your clothing as well. Augie's wearing a cool shirt. I'm wearing something very simple right now, but a lot of our viewers are audio only. So I don't know. Maybe I could stand to wear some cooler clothes. But just be aware that if you are dressed a little pizzazzy, that does add something to the video. These things might seem obvious, but these are just things that I've kind of learned over the years. And maybe if you're someone who doesn't think about fashion very much, perhaps it's worth thinking about it a little more.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, these videos, they might be online forever, right? So you want to make a good impression. The thing about the new phone, right? If you're thinking about buying just buy a new phone. Like we're talking about that bokeh background, you can get that with this new phone. The new iPhone 13, I think is what it is. I have it, and it has what's called cinematic mode. And I swear they are very close to getting this look that is just as good as a mirrorless or a DSLR. I mean, if only I could show you an example right now, but it has the blurry background, and the colors in the new iPhone are just incredible. I really like it. You'll never have to color grade a thing. And yeah, like don't get caught up on the gear. Like I've said in the past before, like set a goal. Like if you're just going to start with your iPhone, fine. That's totally fine. Make sure you have the fundamentals right. You have some depth of field. You have some, decent background. You have some good lighting. But set a goal. Like if you want to upgrade to make your video 2% better and get a mirrorless camera someday, then after 100 videos, do that. But the last thing you want to do is say, oh, I'm going to start my channel in 2 weeks when I can afford to get this $800 camera and this $800 lens. Then I'm going to start. No. Start with the phone, crank out 50 videos or set some sort of goal, 30 videos. When you prove to yourself you can do it, then go get yourself that DSLR or whatever, because there's a learning curve there. There's like 5,000 settings that you're going to need to make sure are correct before you hit that record button. So, I made that mistake when my wife used to record with the camcorder. Everything was so simple. The day before we were going on a trip to Europe, we were actually moving to Europe for the year. We were all excited. Oh, we have so much time to make videos over there. She's like, I'm starting a beauty channel. You're going to start a beauty channel? Oh, I was so excited. I'm going to buy a new camera. That same day, like an hour or two before our flight, we go to Best Buy, walk in there. We're here to buy a DSLR. The guy's like, okay, I don't know anything about anything. I buy, which luckily wasn't a terrible camera, but looking back on it, I mean, it was a T3i Rebel, Canon Rebel, one of those Rebel cameras, but it didn't have slow motion. It didn't have 4K. It didn't have, I don't know, a lot of different things. And then when we went to use it, we didn't know how to use it. We didn't know how to do the exposure or the ISO or any of the settings. And so we felt like we had made a mistake. We were like, why do we do this? And then we find out we need to buy a lens to make it look like how we wanted it. And so just start recording. Just hit that record button and get those videos started. Let's go ahead and move this along. Let's talk a little bit about audio. What are some tips on how to get good audio as a beginner?
Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing, besides thinking about gear and spending a bunch of money on nice microphones, the most important thing is just the space that you're recording in. So you're going to want to put as much sound dampening as possible. The main bane of audio is echo. That's the biggest thing that's going to make your audio bad. If you have a bunch of echo in your room, that is not going to be great. So ideally, you're going to want to record in a carpeted room. That's going to take away a good amount of echo already. Another thing is just you can hang up curtains on your wall. Like you can just have like buy some curtains. They don't even have to be special sound dampening ones. You just want to make sure they're relatively thick. But put some hooks on your wall, and then when you want to record, you can hang the curtains up. And then when you're done recording, you can fold them, put them away. And that's just be very aware of sound dampening. You want to record in a room that doesn't have a lot of echo. That's going to be the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And I'm actually going through that struggle right now. I'm recording in a bedroom right now that has carpet. It's got some sound, that black stuff behind me, soundproofing. And then I have curtains up, and the audio in here is great. And I have a new son. He's taken over this room, and I've been moved to the garage, which I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll do it. It's all good out there, but it's echoey, right? There isn't all that kind of stuff. And so I'm in the process. We're putting up more and more stuff on the wall to help with that. But it's a big room, right? It's a garage. And it's going to take some time till I can get that audio to sound right. Another tip that I have for you, besides, all that stuff, is being close enough to your microphone. You might use a lav mic that hooks onto your shirt. You're going to be able to, you'll be fine with that. Even in an echoey room, that should be pretty solid. And that's kind of the strategy I'm using right now in my garage. But if you have like a shotgun mic, that's a mic that hooks onto the camera and you're pretty far away from it, it's going to affect your audio. Or maybe you're using an iPhone with no external mic at all. It's just the microphone that's on there. You got to kind of be close to the phone if you're going to do that. If you're super far away from it, you're not going to capture great audio. So you got your shotgun mic, you got your lavalier or lapel mic, and then you got your mics like we're using to record this podcast right now. I'm using the Blue Yeti. You're using a blue microphone of, what's that one called, Grant?
Mm-hmm. This is the Blue Bird.
The Blue Bird. And I think this is the Blue Yeti, I'm pretty sure. And, these are a little bit different, right? And these ones you do kind of want to be closer to, but these also create great audio, as you can hear. And those can be an option too, just depending on what type of content you're creating. If you're just a talking head video in your studio, these are a great option. Is there any other microphones that I'm kind of missing? I don't think so.
One that I like is called the MXL 880, I believe. I should double check that, but yeah, it's MXL 880. It's just that. Yeah, okay, there's several different ones. But yeah, there's like the MXL 770, MXL 990. Basically, it's a condenser microphone, and it's around $100. It's about the same as the Yeti. I used that for years. I still have it. The only reason I have this one is it kind of comes down a bit further. It's easier to get closer to my face. Also, during the moving process, I don't know, something happened. The microphone like fell over, and now it has a big dent in it. It probably still works okay, but it looks a little wonky on camera. It just looks like some Willy Wonka stuff. So anyway, yeah, I'd recommend that microphone. It works very well. It's pretty inexpensive. It's also very small, or it's relatively small. It's smaller than the Yeti for sure. I like that microphone a lot personally.
Cool. Yeah, and for me, if you're going to use a lav mic or lapel mic that hooks on and you're recording with your iPhone, there's a really good one by Rode. It's called the Rode Smart Lav mic, something like that, where it'll plug directly into your phone. It records really good audio. It's from Rode. Rode is like pretty expensive microphones. But if you're going to be out and about shooting kind of on the fly, you're probably going to want like a shotgun mic. Like if you have a videographer and they're holding it, normally shotgun mic works well as long as you're close enough. And those are the ones that just hook right onto the camera. They record right into the video. Because sometimes what you're going to find out is you have to sync your audio, which means you record your audio on a totally different device. It's not connected to the video at all. And then you record your video and you record maybe with a worse microphone. And then in the post-production, when you go to edit it, it automatically does it. You can do it in automatic ways. It'll sync them together. And it's like magic. And all of a sudden you have this great audio file matched up with your video. So yeah, that's audio for you guys. Let's go ahead and move on. So you got your video recorded now. You got it up onto YouTube. You just uploaded it. Let's talk a little bit about optimizing your video. So optimizing is just doing all kind of like the last steps in order, the best practices in order for you to give your video a good chance of succeeding. So what are some steps to optimizing your video?
So the biggest one is thumbnails. So thumbnails are arguably the most important thing that you can do. It takes some practice to get good at them. A few rules of thumb. A human face generally is a good idea. Sometimes, like maybe you're not very photogenic, you have trouble taking good pictures. Then that could be a bit of a struggle. But if that's the case, you can usually take like a screenshot from your video and just kind of cut yourself out and put it on the thumbnail. Some other good advice is, so if you Google a color wheel, um, like you'll notice that so it's a wheel, right? If you look at, say, the color purple, the opposite of the color purple is yellow. So if you have a purple background, you're going to want the foreground or like text to be yellow. And so you basically want to create contrast and Google that color wheel, figure out what color scheme you want to do. And keep in mind that your thumbnails should all kind of have a similar color scheme. People should be able to subconsciously understand when they see your thumbnail and the colors of the thumbnail that this is your channel posting content. So the color wheel is very helpful for this. Design a color scheme, kind of design a feeling that all of your thumbnails are going to have. Maybe you're using the same background. Like I actually just talked to somebody who his backgrounds are all like light purple. They're gradients. So it'll start as like light purple, and then on the other end, it's like black. And it kind of it's a gradient between those two colors. And he'll kind of switch. Sometimes the gradient goes top to bottom. Sometimes it goes bottom to top. Sometimes it goes left to right, et cetera, et cetera. And he can kind of like switch it around. So thumbnails are this weird thing where you want them all to look similar enough, but you also want them all to look different enough. You don't want all of your thumbnails to look exactly the same, because then it just kind of looks like you're posting the same video over and over again if they look too similar. So thumbnails. It takes some practice to start making good ones. These are some general guidelines. And if you need to, you can always pay somebody to make good thumbnails for you. If you have the income, if you already have somewhat of an audience, this is totally worth it for you. Another thing is, so titles and keywords. You can use keyword research tools like vidIQ. Morning Fame is a good one. The TubeBuddy, another good one. And just write as many keywords into your description as possible. Tag as many keywords as possible. And you also want to go by the triple keyword rule. So that means if you have the keyword apples, you're making a video about apples. Who doesn't do that? So you're going to want the word apples in your title, in your description, and in your tags. And this is going to tell YouTube this video is about apples, okay? And you want to hit that home really hard so that YouTube knows where to promote your video. So the triple keyword rule, use tools like vidIQ, TubeBuddy, or Morning Fame to research keywords. And then, again, write your description in a way that uses as many keywords as possible, but without it looking like word salad. You want it to be human readable. If you make a word salad description, YouTube will notice and they'll get mad at you. They may flag your video. You don't want those robot descriptions. You don't want it. So yeah, those are kind of the optimization basics.
Yeah, definitely. Those are all good ones. I think one thing that I like to do too in my description is put links to other YouTube videos. You might have a little call to action, like let's say your video is about how to do a kickflip, right? In skateboarding, in the skateboard world. You might have a call to action in your description that says like, now that you know how to do a kickflip, learn how to do a heel flip. And then put a link there, because for the algorithm, right, we want people to continue to watch your content. We want to keep them on YouTube. We want their session time to be long. We want your watch time to increase. So that's only going to help you get more views and more watch time and all that. And also, you like with that being said, you want to link to other videos as much as possible. So end cards is another great way to optimize your video. So at the very end of your video, you might want to have little you can create these annotations or these clickable links, right? That will bring people to subscribe to your channel or to click to another video or even to go to your website, which is pretty cool. I think you have to have a certain amount of subscribers before you can link to your website, but continue to link to videos, get more watch time, right? So that'd be through an end card. And then the last thing I think would be notes. I think they're called notes or something like that, where you can do on the top right of your screen, right, as your video is playing, a little pop up will pop up there and say like, so, or you can say, hey, if you want to learn more about, how to do a kickflip with a different kind of skateboard, look up here, and you can actually time that. So in your video, there's a little pop up there. Those things are not mandatory by any means, but just little small things like that can help you get more watch time. But yeah, I think what you said, Grant, are all very, very important. Those are the important ones, right? Like the title, the tags, and the description. Is there anything else that comes to mind when it comes to optimizing?
Just you can, well, I guess following trends doesn't necessarily apply here. It's more just whatever video you make, you want to try and give it the best legs that you can. I guess one way to optimize your video is also like how you actually record it. So usually you want to start your video by saying like the first 5-10 seconds, tell people what this video even is. And maybe it seems redundant, like you have a title, but once somebody clicks your video, they pretty much instantly forget what the title was. So you just say, hey, today in this video, in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about how to carve apples, and that's your video. People know exactly why they're there. And then get into it and try not to ramble, get rid of dead space, because like a big part of YouTube optimization is not having dead air so that people don't click off of your video. If your video is not racking up enough watch minutes, then the video is not going to have legs, it's not going to take off. So yeah, these are kind of the last thing I have to say about optimization.
Very cool. Like I told you guys, this is a complete A to Z guide on how to get started and get your first video online. I think now that your first video is live, it's been launched. Kind of the last step is promoting your channel or promoting your video. The same thing in a way. Do you have any tips on once the video goes live on what you should do next?
Yeah, so there's a few things you can do. One, and this is what I did for Treesicle to get our initial like 30-40 subscribers, which doesn't sound like a lot, but keep in mind like you're essentially trying to get a seed, and then from there you want to grow the seed. Getting organic growth with a really tiny YouTube channel can be difficult. So posting to Reddit. What you want to do is so let's say you go to the apples subreddit, and everybody is just very passionate about apples there. You have apples videos, so you do want to read the guidelines of the communities. Sometimes the subreddit will not like it if you're just straight up promoting things, unless you have sort of infiltrated the community. You should have added some value before you start promoting your stuff there. So this might take some diligence, but also some Reddits you can just post and it's totally fine. So yeah, Reddit I found was very useful in the very beginning to kind of get the seed. You want the seed. And from there, I mean, you can go to Twitch streamers and kind of link videos like, hey, check out my video that you might like. And sometimes they'll watch your video. Actually, you should definitely sort of include your video with a donation so that they actually see it and that, you're kind of giving something in return. And then if they watch it, then a bunch of other people are going to watch it. And if they like your video, then that's even better. You just got an endorsement. So yeah, you can just kind of go into a Twitch stream and get some attention there. And Reddit is a good one as well. So yeah, do you have any other recommendations?
Yeah, I think those are all good ones for sure. I think, just a quick one is to include either a link to your video or a link to your channel everywhere, right? So in your email signature, put a link to your channel. So every time you send an email, there's just a little link there. You don't even have to tell anybody to click it. you might have a little blurb there that says like, if you're interested in apples, check out my channel. But then every email you send, you have a chance of, capturing a subscriber, getting some views. Also, like in your Instagram bio, right? You can put a link to your channel. On your Facebook page, you can put a link to your channel and just put it everywhere that you can on those profiles. And then just be active in different communities, right? So let's say it's on Facebook. You're in a Facebook group. You don't have to even include your YouTube link there, but just interact. And people are going to click on your profile, look at your thing, click on your channel, and they'll end up there, right? So this is kind of like an indirect way to promote your channel without having to, because like you said, like some communities will ban you instantly if you come in there and you try to drop a link. That's not allowed. So this is kind of like an indirect way to do it. And then also like, you can go on like Google and search like how to do a kickflip. And you might find like some Yahoo Answers or Quora where there's people asking the question and you can answer their question by providing your link there. Like, hey, you can do step A, step B. If you want the whole video, click here and provide the link. That's a good way to promote it. But yeah, really, what I would say is get into these different communities and interact. Like, so for example, on YouTube, you can go and comment on any video you want to comment on and provide some real value. And you don't have to include the link to your video, but some people will be interested, like, especially if you put something kind of funny, right, as a comment on someone else's video that's in the same niche, then people might click on your profile, come to your channel, and view your videos. So, these aren't easy ways to do it, but they definitely, over a long period of time can help you.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
All right. So, with that said, I think we've given you the A to Z guide from choosing your niche to setting up your channel to deciding how you're going to present your info, scripting your video, recording your video, optimizing it on YouTube, and then promoting your video and promoting your channel. So I hope you guys liked today's episode. I hope you guys got some good tips. I know this is kind of like a tip heavy episode, but feel free to listen to it over and over again 500 times. We do not mind that at all. This episode is brought to you by VidChops, which allows you to take the burden of editing totally off your hands. So if you want help with your editing for your YouTube videos or any online videos, head over to vidchops.com. And that's it for today's episode. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.